Hi there, and welcome back to the Beckett Sports Podcast, hosted by me, Mason Round. On today's podcast, we'll be discussing whether agenda setting impacted gender-based coverage at the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. So as always, let's get right into it. Gender in sport has remained a hot topic for many decades now, and this year's Olympics proved no different. Coverage of female sport has traditionally lagged behind that of men's, with Cookie, Mesner and Musto 2015 arguing that the quantity of coverage in women's sports remains dismally low. To combat this, the IOC has released portrayal guidelines for gender equal, inclusive and fair representation across all media coverage in the sport. But 6 years on from this initiative, how has the IOC been at combating gender discrimination in the media? To study this question, I focused much of my research on the data gathered from the official YouTube channel of the Olympics as well as Eurosport. Eurosport, a broadcaster traditionally based in France, heavily gender marked their videos with 161 featuring the term women in the title. The idea of gender marking can become problematic, with Mesner et al. 1993 arguing that using objectifying language contributes to the construction of gender and racial hierarchies by marking women athletes as others. Therefore, Eurosport's insistence to label their videos based on gender has had a detrimental effect to women's sports, contributing towards their discrimination in the media. This gender marking could also impact the viewership and engagement of videos featuring women's competitions, with videos gender marked as female struggling against other videos in this regard. For example, the highest viewed men's video received over 900,000 more views than that of the highest viewed women's video. Furthermore, the video that gained the most views overall featured the mixed gender event shooting. Off the back of social media hype around new Olympic star Yusuf Dicek, it could then be argued that gender marking is a limited factor for Olympic coverage. However, this analysis remains blurred due to the effect of social media and its ability to increase viewership of certain events, such as in the case of shooting. Hegemonic masculinity may also be a main reason for the disparity between male and female coverage at the Paris Olympic Games. Cannell and Messerschmidt 2005 argue that hegemonic masculinity can be conceptualized as an ideal form of masculinity connected through competitiveness and toughness. This could suggest that audiences may be more drawn towards male competitions due to pre-existing prejudices. Gender hierarchies impacting viewership and engagement of female sports is also supported by David and Brannan 1976, who criticised gender roles, describing them as a source of oppressive behaviour by men. This therefore could provide reasoning for the huge viewing figures behind female boxer Imane Khalif's gold medal match, as the controversy surrounding her gender identity led to increased media scrutiny and attention on her pre and post fight. It is clear that Eurosport did make efforts to more evenly spread their coverage across genders, with female and male videos averaging at a length of 300 and 301 seconds respectively. However, possibly due to pre-existing prejudices, female sports coverage still failed to reach the same heights of engagement and viewership of those of male. However, the official coverage of the Olympic Games showed greater equality in the engagement with their output. Video gender marked as men's and women's provided almost even averages in all metrics analysed, such as views, likes, comments and lengths of video, with men's only narrowly edging it in each and every category. As the Olympics YouTube channel have an international audience, gender stereotypes may be less prevalent in cultures not part of the Western world. Stetson Burke 2001 argued that in Western culture, men are stereotypically seen as more aggressive and competitive, compared to women being passive and cooperative. Therefore, as the Olympic channel has a worldwide audience, compared to Eurosport's Western audience, there is a less prevalent agenda setting. Male sports did, however, continue to dominate in terms of peak viewership on the Olympic channel, with all the top 3 most viewed video featuring men's in the title. 6 out of the top 8 most commented videos also featured men's in the title, proving the Olympics channel still has further to go in order to reach their gender equal and representation goals. In the 6 years since the Gender Equal Initiative, the male agenda in the sporting world has remained a constant, limiting the IOC's ability to create meaningful change. Bruce, 2013, argues that media discourses may not possess the power to shape how we think, but rather what we think about, as limited media coverage of women's sports continues to marginalise its growth. The BBC alone only devoted 27% of its coverage online to women's sport in November of this year, with this only being a slight increase from the 22% seen in 2022. This further credits Bruce's theology that media sport is an overwhelmingly male and hegemonically masculine domain that produces coverage by men, for men, and about men. Overall, despite the growth of female sports coverage at the Paris Olympic Games, it is clear that a male agenda remained throughout the entire competition. The lasting impacts of hegemonic masculinity, cultural and societal norms, and the continued underrepresentation of women's sports in modern media has impacted the viewership and engagement figures of content produced by Eurosport and the Olympics YouTube channel. Therefore, despite seeing some success in its efforts to create an inclusive media representation of the Olympics, the male agenda continues to hinder the growth of female sports at the Olympics and worldwide sporting events. Thank you very much for tuning in again to this week's episode of the Becky Sports Podcast, and hope to catch you again same time next week.